I'm sure they have something.
Yeah. Because apparently they've already got fences around. Yeah. Okay. One of those that's actually okay. I'll put it on my desk.
They had trouble getting all the lights up. No, I was like, I think I should. Okay, now let's go.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like, yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm here, but you want to do it?
I'm going to shut down the elevator. So what we can do is we can record my dog.
But you're great, yeah.
I wanted to take my shoes off too. I wanted to use it for yeah. I'm in the picture here? Okay. Picture, okay. There's some chairs up here. Hey, Deb. There's some chairs. Stand. I'm also going to stand.
You can use these 20.
Apparently there are beers and coffee. If anybody needs them.
Yeah,
I have a hot water.
no, I'm good. I'm going on the beer side. Thank you. I got one, thank you. 5 minutes. 5 minutes?
Can you do that? Don't go past that. Okay, this is coffee. Turn off my mic to go to the bathroom.
Yeah, we will.
Can you hear me? Am I on now? I'm a professional sound and video guy. Hey, Kelly. Hey, Anna.
Actually, I have a job for you. You're gonna grab all of them and give one each. Yeah, perfect. You can ask if someone wants it.
Yeah, can I help with them?
Yeah.
So, Jennifer, go ahead. You do this. Start.
Yeah, I didn't prepare any presentation, so yeah, Reilly, we're really happy to have you here. So, I don't know, I think you go.
Okay. Hello. Thanks, friends, for coming. I recognize almost everybody here, which is awesome. It's so nice to be able to talk with friends. And as I've told my friends who can't come, which is almost anyone with small children for the most part, you know me, you can ask me questions, and I'm happy to do the behind-the-scenes talk at some point. You're the most people here. I'm Reilly Dibner, if you don't know me, and mostly I'll be talking tonight about my friend Harper Wave. Harper was my amazing kayaker for this adventure in Lake Tahoe. But I'll talk about the swim. I'm leaving a lot of things out, just necessity for time, and I'm happy to answer questions afterwards. Yeah, this isn't polished because I haven't practiced. But hey, it's fun to talk about something I really enjoy. So I was invited, Harper roped me into this, and the base camp folks were really generous, inviting me to come talk about swimming the length of Lake Tahoe this summer. I swam from August 8th to August 9th, and you'll see what that was like from the south end to the north end of the lake. So I'm going to start this out. So it's going to be washed out. I'm going to post, somehow we're going to get my videos up and be able to share them, and I'll make sure that Basecamp can share them as well, so that you can see everything when it's not quite so washed out. But honestly, it's pretty hard to see stuff anyways, because we start here at 2:27 a.m. In Lake Tahoe. So what you're seeing is the red of Harper's headlamp, and most of the video and photographs come from Harper. That's me, right there. The red lights are on the back of my goggles, and the blue are on the back of my swimsuit. And then the boat that you saw at the very beginning of this, we'll just cut back to that real quick. That light up there, that's our navigation boat. Very important. So, Lake Tahoe, how many people here have been to Lake Tahoe? Okay, so I had only been to Lake Tahoe in the winter. I grew up on coastal California and went to Tahoe a couple of times and learned how to snowboard in my teenage years. It wasn't pretty, but I'd never been to Tahoe in the summer. And how I ended up here has to do with a long love of swimming. I took many, many, many years off of swimming. I didn't swim for basically 12 years after moving to Wyoming, and I really missed it. But skipping much of how I got back into it and what kept me out, I got interested in doing some big swims. And Lake Tahoe is a really interesting big swim. I'll talk a little bit more about how I got there. But for context, it's this incredibly beautiful, case in point, alpine lake. In fact, it is the largest alpine lake in North America. It's the largest lake by volume after the Great Lakes, because it's really deep. It's 25 feet up, which from here is down, which is one of the things that makes it an interesting thing to swim, is that most swimmers don't swim over a mile in the air. So the altitude gets a lot of people. But it's 1,645 feet deep. I've got the meters up here, but I'm giving this our non-scientific units today. And it is 21.3 miles long. And in August, the average water temperature is about 65. Variable, but about 65. So how I end up there, I largely blame this group of women who invited me to come swim with them. And I started swimming with them in the mornings at the rec center. And I would get up for this. It's an early bunch, and I see some of my friends who are there early hours, and really loved it. And this group, we decided a couple years ago to go to northern Colorado and swim an open water swim at the Horseshoe Reservoir. They have a variety of distances. Most people swim there's a 1.2 mile swim around Boise. There's a 2.4 mile swim, and then there's a 10K from the north to the south end of the reservoir. And then there's a couple of shorter distances for kids. So kids, if you want to swim, there's some cool open water events nearby that are really, really well run. The Horseshoe open water swims are amazing. So we all drove down the morning of one of these swims and had a great time. And Kristen, right here, she's right here. Kristen and I swam the 2.4 mile swim, because I used to do some open water swimming. And the rest of our group did the 1.2. We loved it, we had a great time, but I was a little sad getting out of the water. That's it? It was so nice that I wanted to keep going. And we were standing there during the award ceremony, in which I think every single person in our group won an award, except for me, because I'm not fast. But I'm steady. And I'm standing there and watching the first of these 10K swimmers come in. I just kind of felt like, oh, wait, there's something more. Maybe I can try that. So the next year, I wrote this lovely lady, she's right here, Birdie, into kayaking for me, and we did the 10K together. She threw snacks out of the boat for me. For the 10K, you have to have a kayaker with you to bring water, food, rope you if you start to sink, or call the support boats. And I loved it. I absolutely loved it. And this is us at the end of the 10K. There's Stacy. There's Stacy. So I was thinking about what I want to do next. And there are a couple of things that I've had in my mind that I would love to swim, back when I used to swim, and now they started to resurface in my brain. And I'd lived in Ireland for a while, and I'd swum and raced triathlon in Ireland, and I was really keen on the lakes. They're cold lakes. And I started to think about cool lakes that I had seen or that I wanted to go to. And the one that kept coming up was Loch Ness. Anyone heard of Loch Ness? Loch Ness is the home of the Loch Ness Monster, or Nessie. So I got really interested in Loch Ness. But I learned that Loch Ness is a very, very cold lake, like low 50s, which is really cold. And if I wanted to swim it, I wasn't going to be ready for a while. So I needed to try some other things. And then I learned that there are these other monster lakes. So there's Loch Ness, home of Nessie, which is about 22 miles long. There's Loch Memphremagog, home to Memphrey, and I had to practice saying that a number of times. And then there's Lake Tahoe, which I had no idea is the home of Tahoe Tessie. I don't know anything about the legends beyond that. They all kind of resemble plesiosaurs, and they're cool. And if you, yes, Bert.
I read a book about the Loch Ness Monster.
My kid knows about the Loch Ness Monster. Awesome. Yes. Very cool. Very cool. You have to tell me all about it later. So I was like, oh, this is fun. Monster swims. And if you do the 3 of them, then that's the triple crown of lake monster swims. And then I learned there's all these triple crowns in open water swimming. Like, well, they're fun. It's a really fun idea. And then the most famous of the open water swims that most of us know about is the English Channel. The English Channel is also 21 miles from the nearest point in England to France. Most people swim it that way. There's a lot of rules. You can't actually swim it from France to England unless you start from a different spot. I don't understand. But most people swim it not in a straight line because there's tides. So you end up swimming something like that. Right? One of these. Not all of them. This is like a compilation of the summer's swims. So for context, that's one of those big ones. But if you want to do any of these swims at all, there's a huge amount of planning that goes into it. You can't go to like an online entry for like you would for a 5K or a triathlon or like a cycling event. It's kind of old school, and I love it. You have to call people up on the telephone. You can email folks, but it doesn't always work. You need a number of things. You need, number one, if you're going to do a big body of water, you need a boat and you need a pilot because you need navigation across. And this is anything that's a substantial body of water. For most 10Ks, which is that's considered a marathon open water swim. For most 10Ks, there will be a kayak or you'll do loops or something, or you go around past points, and you won't need a big navigation boat. You can see stuff. But for bigger bodies of water, you need help for a number of reasons. Safety. You need crew, which may or may not involve a kayak. For the English Channel, you don't have any kayaks. You have a big boat, and they throw bottles to you off the big boat. And I'll show you what that looks like. And the same is true for many large lakes. You need a nutrition plan so that you stay fueled, and you need to have a weather window that cooperates. So you can do everything under the sun and in the water to prepare, but you have to have the weather to go. So in the open water swimming world, there's a lot of chance that goes with it, and I think that makes for a really wonderful community. Like people, for the most part, aren't racing each other. There are some cutoff times. It depends on the event or the place. But you need all of these things in place to be able to swim, and you need a cooperative collection around you. And then what you really need is you need a lot of preparation. So that's a lot of time in the pool, and that's a lot of time practicing with your crew. And if you're putting together your own swim, figuring out what that's going to look like. So the first thing that I needed to book was a pilot, and for Lake Tahoe, there's really one guy for the job. The man, the myth, the legend, the reptile. This is Reptile, Tom Linthicum, and he's like the father of Tahoe open water swimming. He's pioneered a couple of the swims. He's been around a long time. He's a wonderful character. And Harper and my other crew member Becky both got to spend time on his Reptile. So I called him up and I sent him text messages. I had numbers from my coaches. I found a coach. I found a coach to tell me how can I do these things, and that's a fun story. But basically, I needed some help because this is it's not a clear-cut world to navigate. Everybody has different opinions. I found someone who I trusted to help me down the road. And so I ended up working with a woman named Sarah Thomas. I didn't know what she'd done when I first contacted her. She holds the first, second, and fourth longest swim records ever, starting with 104 miles in Lake Champlain. She's the only person ever to do a 4-way crossing of the English Channel nonstop. I found her looking through the Loch Ness swim database because I was curious about Loch Ness. She was the second American to swim it. She lives in Colorado, 30 minutes from water. She's my age. I was like, she looks cool. Contacted her and then found out these other things. I was like, oh my gosh. But she's just the most wonderful person. And I mostly work with her assistant coach, Neil Hailstone, who is also a phenomenal water swimmer. And this is not their jobs. This is like thing they do on the side. They both have careers, and then they coach us and others for fun. But they pointed me towards Reptile, giving his contact information. Eventually, we connected. Boat pilots can be hard to reach because they're usually out piloting swimmers across lakes. But we connected, and we made a plan to swim on the States. So then I started thinking, how do I find people to help me? And I'm so lucky. I swim with these women on my right, your left. This is Kristen and Teddy, and there's a whole other gaggle of other lovelies. And then Harper, we conned into a wetsuit on this day. She does swim. She would never think you would put me out there. I fortunately already knew Harper. And the story of the things that I wanted to do came out over time. Just like, I'd be interested in doing that with you. I was like, really? Are you sure? Well, she was sure. And I'm so lucky because we trained a lot together, which was important, because lots of training was important. And since this is a Laramie crew, we spent an extraordinary amount of time in Lake Hattie. And if you haven't been to Lake Hattie, it's like 30 minutes that way on the plains. It doesn't look very inviting. Faces. Doesn't look very inviting, but when you're in it, it's kind of amazing. You're like, oh my gosh, I'm swimming on the high plains of Wyoming. This is insane. And it was so fun to swim in there, and it's sometimes more fun than others. We had some really, really, really rough days out there. We had some beautiful, calm, clear days out there. In the middle, I think this was one of our calmer days. On either side are images from our 8-hour day, an 8-hour training day on Lake Hattie with Harper. And she was amazing. That's a whole other story for another time, but we survived, and it was amazing training, and I learned how to troubleshoot some nutrition challenges. Because I ended that one eating, I messed up my nutrition bottles. Didn't have the right stuff with me. Got seasick because it was so choppy. We started in white caps, and ended up eating just like Pepto-Bismol and peaches for the last hour and a half, something like that. It was bad. Okay. Anyways, we've got pilot, we've got crew. My friend Becky joined us. There's more Becky in here in a minute. Had this plan for Lake Tahoe, and so I'm just going to jump us ahead to packing for Lake Tahoe. So, I got the packing for Lake Tahoe, and I made this as a little reel, and I highlighted all of the Laramie businesses where I got all my goodies. Most of the clothes are new to you. And then this is some of the gear, and it helped me also to remember what did I bring? I don't remember. And then this is my giant swim partner. And then I had stoves, and these guys came with me. Yeah. And they were in my bag. They totally crashed my little Insta video. Anyways, there's a lot of stuff that went in there, but basically this is one bag, and then Harper had one bag like this, and then I had another bag like this, and a giant Tupperware and a cooler. And we stuffed those in the back of the minivan and drove to Lake Tahoe, which was super fun. The other thing you need is the weather, right? The weather to cooperate. So one of the first things people ask me about the swims that the nighttime swims that I've done, the long swims I've done, is why on earth would you start at night? It's a weather safety thing. So this right here is the wind map. This I know to us, this is not very impressive. But I have to say, even on the day, the map that I was looking at did look a lot like what we see here on Lake Tahoe. There were some pretty good gusts, and everything just drops straight off to like no wind, 8, 9 p.m. So we had a 9 p.m. start time, an 8 p.m. meet time, 9 p.m. start time for that particular reason. Okay, enough of the boring weather stuff. Greg took this video of us looking out across the lake, made us look very cool. So let's run that again. There we go. Yeah, we look very cool. So this is Harper, Becky's in the middle, and then that's me. I'm getting a little bit nervous looking all the way. We're standing on the north end. I'm looking to the south where I'm going to start. So we've got all the things in place. It's going to be beautiful weather. Reptile calls me up, tries to make some last minute changes, solves the problem himself, because I have another teammate who was swimming the length the night after me, or 2 nights after me, and another one who was swimming the width the day after me. And we were trying to figure out if we could shuffle each other around. We didn't need to. We had everything in place, got all set, packed up our nutrition bottles, and got all of these. So this is a super technical, I think $1 Walmart special with a flip top. And the flip top was pretty cute because I needed to be able to get nutrition in the water just by flipping this open and chugging. I'll tell you a bit more about that in a minute. So filled up bottles like this, had everything preloaded with powder, and then we had some thermoses full of warm water. Like, oh, hi Ruby. We had thermoses full of warm water because one of the ways that you stay warm in the water, you don't stay warm in the water. But one of the things you do to help is drink warm liquids. So we had thermoses full of warm water. There's some, you can see that over there. There's some thermoses. We had insulated bottles, all this stuff ready to go in coolers to go on the boat. And then this little guy, we highlight this guy. He looks very concerned. This is Med Bear. We needed to figure out some method for my crew to get me medication if I needed it for nausea or pain. You're allowed to take. There are banned. Obviously, there's banned substances, but there's some things that you can't take. I don't know what they all are. These weren't interesting. This was like ibuprofen, Pepto-Bismol, and then we had Odonestrone or Zofran on board for anti-nausea. I didn't need it in the water, which was fortunate. But he looks concerned. There's a lot riding on that boat because my crew can't touch me, and that's one of the rules of unassisted open water swims. Okay, so here we are. So we didn't drive all the way. So we were staying in the north end of the lake. We were starting to swim on the south end of the lake. Reptile agreed to meet us in Homewood, which is on like the western. No, not Homewood. Met in Tahoe City, western side of the lake. So Greg drove the 3 of us down there. We got out, ready to party. Right? There's Becky in the middle. Becky and I practiced together, not at all. But she's a smart woman, and she's a professional. She's a retired professional triathlete, collegiate swimmer. I had no concerns about Becky's ability to crew. So here we are, walking down the marina. We have no idea what the boat looks like. We don't know what to expect quite yet. We're all very novice in this whole situation, but it's beautiful.
Okay, girls, turn around. All right.
Our big pose. Okay, and then here we are. This is the boat. It's going with us across Tahoe. 4 winds. There's Reptile. And that's Earl in the shades. Earl had also never gone. I think he was Reptile's son-in-law. And then Sabella is his granddaughter, and she was our observer. So it was a family operation, and they were fantastic. So then we hightailed it south. Got this boat and just jammed across the lake to our starting point. And this took like almost half an hour to get from Tahoe City City on like the western side, partway down to the end. I'm just like, oh, that's a lot. Okay. So we get to the south end and we pull up. And we're like, okay, front bathroom, like got everything shuffled into the kayak, and it's just dark. It's completely dark. We pull up to the dock and we can't see anything. But like up on the shore, behind the trees, there is a party just raging. Huge party going on, but like nothing between us and them. Becky and I were like, is there a bathroom? So Becky and I went up and we crashed a wedding. They welcomed us and come on in. Yeah, come. You want a drink? But that was pretty fun. And then we greased me up fully. So what I'm wearing is, I'm wearing 3 layers of sunblock. It is 9 p.m. here. I'm wearing 3 layers of sunblock, or 2 layers of sunblock with a layer of Desitin on the top, which is diaper cream. Diaper cream, 25% diaper cream. It sticks. It stays. It really stays on. And then I have lanolin all over me to prevent chafing. Aside from that, I've got on this. And that's it. There's no neoprene, there's no extra warmth, just basic swimsuit, specific regulations about what you can and can't wear. Simple cap, this is my Laramie No Judgment Mom Swim Group, tiny little acronym. Not all moms, but that's our group. And then some pink snake and pig goggles. These are the best goggles ever. Love snake and pig, plugging them. And that's it. So if you want to have an unassisted solo marathon swim, you can't touch anyone, they can't touch you. You can't like hold on to your feed bottles and get towed behind a kayak. You can't wear neoprene, no wetsuits, 1 cap, no booties, nothing. Can't even wear a watch. Very, very basic. And that's fine, it's fine. But I did have to get used to the cold. So here's the start.
Yeah!
Those lights are me. I can see it a lot more clearly on my screen here. But the lights are me. I can hear Becky yelling, icing on the cake. You can't see it, but these are my arms. My arms are out. I'm about to dive in. And you know, it was pretty nice. Like I dove and I was like, oh, this is not the cold that I was expecting. It's not the like icy grip. It's not diving into Lake Hattie last Sunday when it was 48 degrees. Yeah. Open water season is done. So we just like cruised into the water, and once the start is over, once you're in the water, once you start something like that you've been so nervous about, and I'm like not talking about that at all, because I'm nervous standing up here. I was so nervous for this swim, but once I was in the water, all good. Just go. Just move. Move your body, move forward. There's nothing else to do. All the planning is done, all the like trying to coordinate, make sure you have all of the stuff. I mean, for me, so Harper and Becky had to work all night long. But for me, I just swim, which is just amazing. It's like nothing else I have to do. It's just right there in the moment. It's like the ultimate mindfulness practice. You can't do anything else at all. You can hardly even think about other things. So I had my first feed at 10:30. So you don't eat in swims. You don't stop at aid stations. People throw you a feed bottle, tied to a marine float like this. They chuck your bottle at you, usually just one at a time. And it lands in front of you, and I flip over on my back, grab the bottle, flip over on my back, pop the lid open. I mostly work with these ones. Pop the lid open and chug it. And and you try not to drop it because you want to drink all of it. I have a fill line on these, so they fill up to that fill line. And what I had was carbo mixes. A mix of like carbs and electrolytes that amounted to about 200 to maybe 300 calories an hour, depending on that. You can't process more than that. It's like you cannot take that anymore, and you can't eat real food on a swim like this. It sits. It's just too much. And you if I were doing a really, really long run, like I used to run really long stuff, and I would eat real food. But you can chew and walk. You can't chew in the water. You just have to like chug and go. Semi-solids work a tiny bit, but not very well. I did work those in later. So I had first feed at 10:30, and then after 1 hour in the water, and then every 30 minutes after that. And that was a carbohydrate drink with a little bit of electrolyte, a tiny bit of protein in there. And then after 4 hours, I started having some gummies or some gels on the hour. But that's a lot harder to eat, because you do need a little bit more after a period of time. It was beautiful out there. You can see a little bit of the moon. There's me in the water. I think that's probably Becky who's probably taking the video. We lost most of in theory, the nutrition works really well. And it worked well in most of our swims where I didn't mess up the mixes. I had trouble from the very first feed. The very first time, I didn't want any of it. I didn't want it at all. And so every single time I'd have to eat, it got harder and harder. So here we are, midnight, and moon's up, lovely. I'm watching the moon over my right shoulder. Watching the moon over my right, dark to my left, ooh, stars. And this is the height of the Perseids. So the Perseids meteor shower is going on. So Harper and Becky saw hundreds, tons of shooting stars. I think maybe I saw 2. But it was still beautiful out there. Absolutely gorgeous. And we're coming up on the little bend in the Tahoe and the California-Nevada border at the south end of Lake Tahoe. And I'm having trouble with my food. None of it stuck, wasn't happy, and I'm starting to get cold. So what I've got here, this is my speed curve. Spoiler alert, I made it across. I did finish the swim. I'm going to show my speed curve for a couple times throughout. My speed just plummeted after about 11, just like way slowed down. A couple things happened. The like shock at being so repulsed by my food was, I think, probably a problem. My body wasn't happy with that. The cold started to set in. I didn't feel cold at all for the first hour and a half, and then I started to feel cold. And then I just got cold, and that never went away. And then there's this other thing that's really interesting that happens in Tahoe and other big lakes, and I don't think you can see it. Maybe you can see little flecks moving around on that map. But what happens in the middle of the lake is these gyres that are set up. Wind blows, just like it does here. And the lake is so large, you get these flows, these currents that move through the lake, and they can persist even after the winds die down. So what can happen, I think particularly in this middle section, is you run into these currents and they definitely can slow you down. Towards the north end, it can actually be a little bit of a push. But at this point, we started, I definitely slowed down. I couldn't feel it. I actually felt like I was moving faster than I should, or I was pushing it faster than I should. But the boats kept moving around, and I could hear Earl saying she's choking on fumes, and they start to move the boat up. So Reptile was having to crab the navigation boat. It kept getting pushed off course, and he'd crab back. Kept having to work to get back on the line. And Becky, who had never practiced with me and hadn't picked a site in the far offshore, was trying. She didn't want to break any rules. She wanted to make sure that we didn't violate any rules of the swim, and she was just following Reptile like this. And I was like, we're gonna figure this out. We're gonna figure. What's going on? What's going on? And there's back and forth on the walkie-talkies, and eventually everything gets sorted out. But we were definitely getting pushed, and so that's part of what slowed down that portion, which is super interesting. I'm just remember to think, okay, there's something going on. They'll figure it out anyway. So I don't have to solve anything. I just gotta keep going. So then here we are, continuing on. It's me in the water, Harper again, still going, Still going, still swimming. Coming up on the California-Nevada border. And this is about 2:30, a little before 2:30 in the morning. Moving along, and my speed is actually picked up. We're like at the trough, the absolute bottom of the curve. But overall, my speed had come up. So we start to see things move upwards from here. So I think I was past that first initial shock of food is gross, my body is cold, I don't know what's going on with the boats, and just kind of like, let's get on with it, fine. Just get on with it, you just kind of have to get over it and keep going. So then this was, I noted, a super long feed. But I heard them say, I just listened to this the other day, I went back through the videos, and could hear them say, oh, she's in good spirits. I was like, well, that's good to know. Great to know. Okay, so this was, and I think thinking back, I don't remember huge chunks of what happened, like at all. And even going back, I couldn't have told you this the week after the swim. It wouldn't have been any clearer. I still couldn't have told you what happened during big chunks of the swim. So going back through the video is really interesting, and I think this has forced me to do it. And it was really hard. It was like hard to figure out what was going on and where I was and what went wrong. Things always go wrong. But what were the things that went wrong here? So it's about 6.5 hours in, and I was feeling, generally speaking, in pretty good spirits. Nutrition wasn't going well, but I kept telling myself, oh, it works. I know it works. I'm not sick. It's staying put. It's working. It's fine. And in this particular spot, I think I'm eating some gummies or a gel or something, so it wasn't too bad. But I can tell I am because it's taking me forever. So this is like a minute. It's like a minute when I've stopped here, and I should be getting everything down in 30 seconds or less. So there's no like hanging out at the snacks table and like eating chips and like checking my watch. There's no watch. There's no light. Can't see anything. Don't want to stop because you start to get cold. And if you're in a tidal area, if you're like in a big channel, you can get pushed off of course in something like the English Channel. You can't. The captain will have to like reset and move. You don't want to do that. So you want to stop as little as possible. Which took some wrapping my head around when I first started training. Oh, okay. We can't stop like this. So I watched the moon move from over my right shoulder to over both shoulders, and then eventually over my left shoulder and start to sink into the west. And then around 4:30, oh good, you kind of can't see them. Here we are, there's me, there's, I think that's probably Becky. I say this mostly because Harper took most of the photographs that we still have. Jupiter and Venus rising here, and Orion. And I could see all of this, and more. So, like swimming at night, to me, is just the most beautiful thing. It's like, magical is not the right word, but it's just so incredibly peaceful. And I can see so much in the sky, and the water has this fun texture that somehow changes when the sun rises. And it's incredible to be just like cocooned in this blazing night sky. It was a full moon this night too, and even so we could see all of these stars. Absolutely unreal. But you can see, I think even you guys can see it's starting to lighten just a little bit in the east. There's Earl with Jupiter and Venus rising. And here we are, we're coming up on halfway. But we're not quite there. But my speed's going up. So I think we're out of those cross currents, and somehow something is working. And I've just decided to like not worry about feeling sick. I didn't actually feel sick, I just didn't want to eat. So just kept plugging. And people ask me what I think about. A lot of what I thought about was just counting my strokes. Counting my strokes to 100. Counting my strokes to 100 again. I don't think I ever like consciously got past 600 by counting to hundreds, but did a lot of that because it kept me at least neutral. And there were some times where it was hard to access positive, but neutral was useful. So then the moon really began to sink. Moon set, sunrise were coming upon us, and I think this is the best footage we have. This is from Harper, just before sunrise. So I'm in the water doing this swimming thing. Harper and Becky are paddling all night long. So they're just doing the exact same things that I am, basically. Plus they have to think about what I need to eat, how to get it to me, how maybe help solve some of the challenges I'm having. So this is 8 hours and 12 minutes in this footage here. And I love this bit for Harper.
There's where we're going.
There's where we're going. Way up there. So in my brain, something going on in my brain is like, well, when the sun comes up, you're like almost done. I don't know why. I can do math. The math didn't work out. But I did have sort of an estimated time in my head based on what I had been swimming earlier in the season. I was a little bit off because you get slower as you swim longer and you train for longer instead of speed. But here we are at this point. We can see the bay. We can see the end of the bay where we're heading. And Harper can see it. Maybe not the beach yet, but she can see where we're going. We're headed towards up here. It's Crystal Bay, Incline Village. And I'm still moving faster again. I'm like not back to my starting speed, but I'm coming up, so I'm feeling okay. But I really wasn't actually feeling okay. My shoulders hurt really, really bad. My shoulders were super heavy. They were sore like 4 hours before I expected them to be sore and tired. I was expecting them to be sore and tired at like 9 hours, 10 hours, not 6 or 6.5, and that's when I felt it. And I was cold, and I didn't want to eat anything that we had, nothing at all. It all grossed me out. And it's not the products that I had. They've worked well for me before, they worked well elsewhere. It was just, in this swim, all of a sudden, nothing worked. So I had a backup. Well, I had an emergency, I had a little emergency option on board. We made ramen, right? I made ramen, and I put ramen, I think in a blender bottle. Was it in a blender bottle? Yeah, it was in a blender bottle. Okay. And I was like, well, what I'll do is I'll just pop open the top and just chug some of the ramen. That didn't work. It got to this part, I was like, Becky, I need the ramen. I need the ramen. I can't eat anything else. Ramen and plain water. I need a hot water now.
Sorry, how much are you talking to Harper and Becky?
Oh, yeah. So Harper is, so can you see it right there? Me? So I can hear everything going on. I can't hear all the conversations if they're on the walkie-talkie. I can't hear everything happening, but I can hear their voices. And I talk to them at least every 30 minutes. And if something's coming up, then I would just pause and like, hey, ramen, please. Yeah. And I try not to do that too much because like break stride, it's like an effort. I was really fortunate. I was worried I was going to get a headache. Didn't get a headache. Like talking is like the worst if you have a headache. No headaches. Just didn't want to continue. But yeah, communication was critical. And Harper and I practiced so much. I swear she could read my mind. But Becky and I hadn't practiced at all. There were a couple times where she was like throwing packets of gummies into the water to me in front of me. I was like, you can actually hand them to me. It's okay. I can't like tow off the boat off of gummies. But we figured out really fast. Yeah. So part of that was picking my crew who could communicate with me and problem solve without asking me to, which is really important. And I learned that. I didn't actually have to learn that the hard way. I just learned that from other people, and then I got lucky in my career. ramen incident. So yeah, I was able to say, I need the ramen. I don't want anything else. I couldn't get anything out. It was like ramen stuck in here, and so I pulled the whole thing open and just like stuck my face in. And this is like 100% what I look like. I mean, this is actual footage from the kayak. This is the one piece that survived from Becky's phone. Little Davy Jones octopus face with the ramen. But I have to say, the ramen was amazing. I'll have ramen more frequently. The next thing that really helped boost is that you can have support swimmers. For most long swims, you can have support swimmers, but there's rules about when they can join you and for how long they can join you. So here, I was allowed to have a support swimmer after 4 hours. I wanted to wait until 9. I was like, I don't need anybody until we're going for a while. And I wasn't actually sure I would need somebody with me, but I have to say, having a friend in the water was amazing. So Becky was my support swimmer. Becky's an amazing swimmer. This actually must have been really hard for her because she had to slow herself down in the water. She hopped in to swim with me for an hour. In a wetsuit.
Yeah, ladies!
So she swam with me for an hour, and then she got out for an hour, and she kayaked, and then she got back in. She ended up swimming with me 3 times. And after the second swim, we're coming in towards the bay, and I'm looking up, and I'm looking at the mountains. And the heartbreaking thing about sunrise is that you can see all of the landmarks that aren't moving. I've been watching that ridge forever. It's been at least 17 hours. It hasn't budged. So you can see how fast you're not going. And at night, all I knew was I could count, and I knew that time was distance. And then all of a sudden, I had these visual cues, and I was like, well, I'm obviously on an aquatic treadmill. We're not going anywhere. But having Becky get in the water with me was such a boost. One thing about Tahoe that's incredible is its clarity. It's one of the clearest lakes in the U.S. Crater Lake is clear. There's one in New Zealand. I mean, in the world, it's one of the clearest lakes in the world. There's a couple. But you can measure this with this cool disc. It's called a Secchi disc. And you can drop it down, and the point at which you don't see it anymore is its Secchi distance. Incredible clarity. I can't remember how far. 70 feet? I didn't see right, but what's that? Oh yeah, it's just this little disc. I'll show you one. It's a little disc on a string, and you can like mark it with different distances. But it's renowned for its clarity, and this campaign through the 90s and 2000s to keep Tahoe blue helped to bring back some of the clarity, starting to get runoff that was diminishing that. But Tahoe is known for its clarity. So I've been swimming in Lake Hattie, where on like calm days in shallow water, I could collect golf balls. I think I collected like 17 or 18 during the course of the summer. Just one day Harper was like, "You gotta stop collecting. We need to keep swimming." It was so fun. But most days in Lake Hattie, I couldn't see my hand beyond like here because of wind, like all churned up. So when we were in the water, Becky stayed a couple meters away from me. She wanted to make sure she kept distance. She wanted to stay a little bit behind me. I could look over her, and it was like there was nothing between us. It was like glass, just perfectly clear, incredible. So this is like 9.5 hours in. We're making progress. I can like actually get my head around the fact that okay, maybe we're making forward progress. But when Becky jumped in, my speed went whoop. This is definitely my fastest point for the whole swim. Like, oh, that's back where Becky first got in. So we're chugging along. This is Harper. I can tell because of what she's wearing. And despite the fact that I can't see progress measured off of objects on shoreline, it is so beautiful. the water was just beautifully clear. But now I could like start to see more things, which is more visual inputs, which is more things I have to like focus on, which is harder in some ways. So there was a lot more of like counting my strokes and having weird songs run through my head. It was really hard to have intentional thoughts throughout. Whoops. But I love this picture because you can see the rainbows coming off of the spray from the boat. And I could see rainbows in the water coming off of bubbles off of Becky's hands. It was beautiful. And then here I am with Harper. You can see the lake is rolling a little bit. We've got a little bit of wind coming up. Was there wind? There was wind. A little bit of wind. Mostly it was boats. There was a lot of boat activity. As we got closer, Lake Tahoe is a big aquatic playground. So there's skiing, there's jet skiing, there's a lot of paddleboarders, not much weight from them. But there was a lot of boat activity, and the water was definitely rocking and rolling. Meanwhile, on shore, this is my mother. Hi, Mom. Shout out. This is my mother and my sister with a spotting scope, and they're watching. And Burn, you're featured in here too. And so this is the favorite piece of footage that I didn't know existed that I listened to as I was putting this together. And I could hear my mom here. I'm going to run through this twice. So what my sister has said, I had to listen to it a few times. My sister says, I'm fairly certain at this point she hasn't been bitten by a cookie cutter shark. And my mom says, I share your confidence, nor a great white. And it's too late probably for me to encounter Tahoe Tessie. I had Tessie treats on board, so bummer. But here we are, we really are coming in to shore. At this point, they can see us. There's like a whole bunch that's missing. And I think I had this particular slide in here, a couple back, to be like, not this one, this one. I'm missing a lot of stuff because I think everyone was focused on making me eat and making me eat. And I didn't want to eat. I didn't want to eat anything. And every once in a while I could hear Harper say, shoot, 2 bunnies. And there'd be a little conversation, and I know. Next time. And so they were really focused on getting me to eat, and I was just not having any of it because I didn't want to eat anything because I knew it was gross. Nothing sounded appealing. You know, people like long runs, long bikes. So maybe sometimes even long swims. I thought about like, oh, what am I going to eat after this? Like, oh, obviously not a Joe. But what am I going to eat? And like something sounds appealing. It used to be burritos. This I was just like, bleh. Nothing. I didn't want any food. It was like, I can subsist on air. My kids do it. It'll be fine. So here we are. You can see this is like us coming in. There's Harper. I think I'm right there. Reptile's got these orange caution flags up to say, please don't run over our swimmer. But you can see there's power boats, there's a jet skier, there's a lot going on. I never felt unsafe. I have to say, for the most part, except for water skiers, you can't really like slow down with a water skier. I think people generally tend to slow down a little bit. Next. Okay. All right. Give us some space. Yeah. When I trained here, I did a swim in Lake Smet on 4th of July weekend, and the skiers can't slow down, but they did give us space. Everybody else stopped. But that was amazing. Or like one runners, and I couldn't tell anything, but the kayakers and canoers were looking for me just later. Damn, amazing. But I didn't feel nervous. They weren't that close to us. So then here we are. Really coming in, and then slow-mo. Harper's pointing me in of where to go, and she's really, it's slow-mo because she's really showing me, go there. Go there. And I was landing on, we'll actually see it in a minute from the other direction, but I'm landing on a private beach, and my family was actually able to get there because we had friends who live there. Otherwise, you have to like sneak in or something. But they were able to get down with some friends who lived there, which was awesome. So I was able to land and see my family. So this is like, I'm getting really close. Get ready to go. Here we go. This is like the last push. This is like the last push in. And so Neil, my coach, he says, swim until your hands touch sand. And then maybe then some. So I'm swimming along, and it's like at this point, maybe I'm not even at this point, I think from here I started swimming, and it was like a little bit further, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna finish. I'm gonna finish, holy smokes. And it didn't actually occur to me to have like big feelings about this, but then it happened. I had some big feelings. So then here I am, there's Reptile, there's Harper.
Ready! Yeah!
And my mom tries to hug me, so I'm like, confirmed finish. I can hardly stand up.
Kids, go give her a hug.
It was really hard. It was really hard. So you're no one's supposed to touch you, and you have to come up onto dry land and like above water line and like make sure that you're fully done. And Harper and Becky had called ahead and made sure that the kids knew not to touch me. So I could see Burin right here, Burin on the edge going like this, like nobody touch Mom. Now Ursi, my 4-year-old, standing there. Okay, my mother. Like, hold on. But we were good. And then here, I love this. I love this view from the boat. And listen. Oh my. This dog.
I like that.
This random dog. You see my mom shooting the dog away. I'm like totally unaware. She's like, go on, dog. Alright, and he said, like, calls out my time. So there we are, we're done. And I made it across. We didn't actually have to get back. I actually had to go back, swim back out to the boat, get back on the boat, and go back to Tahoe City. But then we all met up there, and eventually I felt okay, and I walked around Tahoe City wearing my hoodie, some like knee-high wool socks and fleece boots, and my swimsuit, no pants. Just like you'd see normal for like lake, whatever, not in Tahoe City. But it was cool. And I finished. And it was an incredible effort, and I couldn't have done it without my team. Solo marathon swimming is like, there's nothing about it that's solo. Like, I had to turn my arms around and around, but I couldn't have even started without my team. So that's like bits and pieces of the story. And I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you so much for coming.
Reilly, how cold is the water at the rec center? This is like
82 degrees on Friday. Yeah. I haven't worn my watch this week. My watch gives me temperature. It stopped giving me temperature. It started giving me minus 40, which some of the girls that swim with think was accurate for Hattie. But they replaced my watch. The company replaced my watch. So yeah, 82 degrees, between 80 and 82 degrees at the rec center. Yeah, 82 on Friday. And Lake Hattie on Sunday was 48 degrees. I was wrong. That was 50. 48 degrees. Yeah.
How long till you were able to be after you got out of the boat?
Okay. Well, so I got on the boat and I tried to eat the granola bar right away. I was able to have a couple of bites, and I just knew it wasn't gonna happen, because I wasn't actually nauseated during the swim at all. I didn't feel seasick. I'd taken meclizine, which is like anti-seasickness drugs before, ahead of time. Totally allowed, definitely okay to do that, great idea. I didn't feel seasick, I just didn't want to eat anything. But when I got out, I started to feel sick. Like massive calorie deficit. Started to get warm, so it was like both still cold and also warm and very uncomfortable. Actual time to be able to eat something like and feel okay, it might have been something like 45 minutes, but I had to take an anti-nausea drug, like meds in there. I got to the marina in Tahoe City, and like, Becky, I need shade, we can lie down in shade. And so she got me up to the end of the walkway, this like fancy marina, and I lay under this little tiny mountain ash on her backpack in my like outfit. And it's just like, I need something salty. I can't try anything else that I have. And so she went to the like shishi little shop and was able to find me like pretzel thins in the veggie straws, and I wanted like, I don't know, some sort of salty junk. So it was like the healthiest you could get, the junkiest you could get from that little health store. I could only have a couple bites, but then as soon as I had the Zofran, I think Harper suggested I take it. As soon as I had it, it was like the blue nuts, and I was like, oh, I can eat something. It was amazing. It was like instant. And then I was able to eat from there. But you'd think you're just like ravenous, but it takes like days, 2 days to catch up with me at all. So I like walked into the pizza and ice cream place in Tahoe City in my outfit and got a big like ice cream cone, just like walking around with no pants on. Got a lot of looks. And ice cream. Yeah, it was hard to eat. It's like amazing how hard I can eat when you're doing anything else.
What do you think, I mean, what do you attribute the food issues to? Do you think it was nerves? I mean, you've obviously thought about it a lot.
Yeah. I think there's a couple things. I think I had started to go off of one of my mixes. There was something about the odor that just like wasn't quite right. And I just ignored it. I pushed it out of mind. And then on the day, I was just like, And then I had something else in there, but I hadn't tried a whole lot, which is a terrible idea. Harper was like, no, do not bring those. I'm glad we brought them, but I'm glad we also didn't like use that as my primary. And those were just a little bit too sweet. So one of those companies that made that one that worked okay but was too sweet, they do custom mixes. And so I'm now using one of their custom mixes that I've got almost no flavor in it, or it's got almost no sweet to it. And that seems to be working, which is too sweet. No, I just need more practice. Just more practice, I just gotta swim.
I never would have thought about nutrition being a deal, but then you're like, oh, I guess you need to eat the whole time. But
you do. But it's weird because you can't chew, which is so bizarre. So like any ultras I've run with like tortillas and avocado, you're good, or pretzels or chips. Yeah, the nutrition was hard, but I did have other people's stories to help me with my mindset around the food. Or if I'm sick or if I can't eat, I'm gonna be okay for a while. My coach Sarah on her English channel, 4-way crossing, which is crazy. She puked an entire lap, entire English channel. She couldn't keep food down, and then she actually was a year out from breast cancer treatment, in between surgeries, and they gave her some of her own anti-nausea cancer meds to keep her from puking, and that worked. I was like, Sarah made it across the English channel, just throwing up the whole time. I think. She's incredible. She's like amazing, but she is actually human. I can try that. I didn't throw up. I never got sick. I was like, I'm not even sick. I'm fine. I'll be okay. So part of it was just getting my mind around, this is gross, but I'm going to just do my best with it anyway. It was weird. I have to figure out the food. Got some food work to do. Yeah. I would definitely take it. Yeah. Make it saltier too. Yeah.
I'm interested in,
no, go ahead.
so you obviously did a ton of physical preparation for this, but I can't imagine the mental strain of like, hour after hour after hour. Did you do anything to like prepare yourself mentally for this endeavor?
And some kids. Yes and no. The training, I think, is it for the hour after hour, and like what to think about, or like just how to get through it. I had done a swim, I guess a year ago. I was scared thinking about these swims because I had another one planned for last May. I swam around Coronado Island in San Diego, and there's like big things in that water that are real. And so that was like my first big swim, and I had swim at night. And getting through that and loving it, and loving being out there in the middle of the night, was a huge hurdle. And just, you can't think about the fear. The fear is one of those things. I have it in here. I'm like scared coming up to the shore at Tahoe. I'm like, what's the bottom gonna look like? What's the bottom gonna look like? Why is that scary? But just being out in Lake Hattie for 8 hours, swimming around Coronado Island, and just being there was the prep. But also, you don't have to do anything else. You can't answer your phone, you can't do emails, and like reveling in that, and being able to be part of this like divide between these two worlds, and enjoy being, seeing and feeling below the water, and seeing and feeling above, and like switching back and forth and being in both was just had to get way into it. So that was it. Like not be like working on not being negative, is if I find myself negative, get neutral, and sometimes that might be happy. Just like, but it works. And then you can usually go somewhere else. I have to think about that more. I can talk to you about that more too. Yes. I saw stingrays when I swam on Coronado. Yeah, they really scared me. I wasn't sure they were. Everything is a shark. Yeah, the seaweed is sharks. Yeah.
So it seems like you did freestyle stroke the whole time. Are there like rules on, or did you ever like when your shoulders are hurting, like switch it up or anything?
Freestyle means anything, right?
Yeah.
So,
Well, I'm not a swimmer. All right, normal.
So
normal stroke.
that's a great question.
Yeah.
So most people who swim big stuff, lakes, channels, like rivers, that's a thing too. Most people swim freestyle. And freestyle by definition means you can swim whatever you want, forward motion in water. But there are people, so I did switch it up. I get dizzy on my back. In fact, one of the reasons I didn't swim for so long is I had a lot of vertigo problems, and the swimming helped, actually. But I have a little trouble being on my back in the water. So I didn't do much backstroke. I did do some breaststroke. Backstroke would have helped my shoulders immensely. So I'm working on that so that I can do some more backstroke. But after every feed, I would try to do like 10 strokes breaststroke to kind of get blood moving back through everything before I just launched back in freestyle. But there are people who swim stuff with specialized strokes. There's a butterfly man who's like doing all of the big things, big channels, swimming butterfly. My mom swims butterfly. She would have loved me to throw in some butterfly at the end here. I'm pretty sure I hurt myself if I told her that. But yeah, the people do backstroke. There's like a new backstroke record was set across the English Channel this summer. Yeah. But there's rules around those. I have no interest.
All the rules that are involved. One thing I'm having to it seems like so one of the rules is that you can't have a wetsuit or something. So why is that? Because otherwise it would be too easy, I assume.
I don't think it would be that much easier. I don't think it would be that much easier. I mean, you're cold in a wetsuit too, like after a certain period of time, and then you're still just cold. But the unassisted, I read through this a little bit so I could learn a little bit more. I had no interest in a wetsuit because chafing, number one. I mean, nobody most people don't use them if you're doing these long swims. It's just no assistive devices, because there's so many things that you could potentially use. There's no way to like discern between one swim and another. Anything where there could be a crossing record, speed records, duration, I guess that's speed, like the longest, but also can, number of times, multiple crossings. If there's records to be had, they want everybody on an even playing field. So an unassisted swim is one of those things. And I wonder about the watch. I don't understand that, but I guess that might help some people with pacing.
A little bit what I think about, like, if we had a pacing watch or all the modern music, and
Yeah.
how would you say to watch it when it was not playing music?
Exactly. Yeah, and so the pacing is a thing that I thought about. It's okay. I would actually rather not have a watch on. So I find it very distracting and like actually upsetting sometimes when I'm going faster than this to have it like boop at me at a distance or something. So yeah, definitely.
Can you listen to music, like in the support kayak, like throw on some jams when you're gonna have power for once in a while, just to
I bet they
increase the
could.
mood?
I bet the
mean,
kayak
it's
could.
beautiful without it.
Earl, I couldn't hear any of it. But was Earl playing music? I think the support boats can play music.
Yeah.
It was only like one song, and it was something like Rocky going up the stairs, it was something very inspirational.
Did you listen to that for 14 and a half hours?
I could only really hear it because they were playing on the big boat.
Okay. I mean, did Becky listen to that for 14 and a half hours?
So Becky was on the big boat?
We took turns.
Okay, you would switch out, the kayak would go to the
Yeah.
big boat, and you would trade out.
Yeah.
But she was wearing a wetsuit and she swam. with
Support
me.
swimmers can wear whatever they want.
Okay, and she
Yeah.
didn't have to worry about shaping because she was only in for short period.
Yeah. Yeah. And there are people who do long swims with wetsuit. I personally have no interest because Jake.
But they're buoyant, is that why?
They're
it's considered
buoyant.
an assisted device?
Yeah, they're buoyant and they keep you warmer. And honestly, the temperature for some of these is the limiting thing. Like swimming in Lake Hattie, it's like, to be very clear, don't just jump in. If you want to come swim in Lake Hattie, come chat with me. It's cold. It's cold when it's warm. And the temperature is like the hardest thing about some of these swims in my mind. Yeah.
Do you feel that training in the academy in the lakes, that you get used to it? Like, how do you get your courage on it?
I think over time, your body, what I'm learning is your body just begins to remember. And so the first time I swam the Horseshoe 10K, which was like just over a year ago, I'm a rookie, like I am a total novice at this. Despite having had many years of swimming and many years of open water swimming, I swam in Ireland a lot, cold there. I wore a wetsuit a lot of it, some of it. But I was cold in horseshoes last year. I don't remember us talking about this, Bertie, but it was cold. And it's like the same temperature this year, and I was so comfortable. I was just like, oh, the bathtub. I got used to it, and so now I kind of know some of those metrics. I also had people tell me, my coaches, remind me that there is a difference between freshwater and saltwater, and saltwater feels better, and saltwater feels warmer. I was very cold swimming on Coronado Island, and it's a lot warmer than Lake Tahoe. So I definitely got used to cold. Part of it is mindset, part of it is like just knowing that I'm okay, and fully just rechecking. And then Lake Hattie, we're never that far from the shore. So, and we weren't out there for a long time when it wasn't that cold, you know.
Is there something you can do if you start to feel cold in terms of pumping intensely or stroke that could help take the temperature?
Not really, except just tell myself I'm going through a cold patch. I think that helps me. I'm going through a cold patch because I could feel very cold in places. Much more swimming on Coronado Island than in Tahoe, which is funny.
Is it really a cold patch?
They're cold patches. The water goes through warmer and colder patches. No matter where you are. There's pockets. And like, ooh, I'm in a cold pocket now. I'm going to get through this. And then your body just naturally also goes through warmer and cooler moments. And so just telling myself I'm going to get through this was really helpful. And then there's also knowing limits, right? When it's really cold, like making a safety plan. Like if it's really cold and I'm trying to train to the cold, I have a plan to get warmer and quicker. Because otherwise, you might be
I have so many questions.
It's great.
Did you do any sort of physical training other than swimming in preparation?
Yeah, so I go to physical therapy, and then they make me lift, and so I go to CrossFit Mountain. Which I don't think I could have done safely like 13 years ago, but I'm not competitive. And so I lift, and it's been the single best thing I've done. It's kept my shoulders injury free. It's like I've got this whole new little group of friends I love to see Emily and Meg in the morning sometimes. Yeah, lifting has been the best thing. And I got back into the water after some injuries. So actually I torn my calf and I torn my hamstring. And so just this fall I'm starting to like relearn how to walk jog. But I've been doing a lot of lifting, strength training, and then a tiny bit of biking, but it basically doesn't count. So lifting, yeah. And then that made a huge difference. For mine. I know. Oh yeah. What's next? Well, so the next thing that I have, actually I have two things on the calendar. This June, I'm going to swim 2 other Lake Tahoe swims with Reptile. I'm going to do the width, and I'm going to do what's called a Viking swim. And I'm doing them in the same weekend. And then the next thing that I have that's booked is English Channel for 2027. September. Which is about the same distance as Tahoe, except you swim farther for 5. And there's stuff in the water, and there's all sorts of stuff. So I'm really excited about that. I booked that last year, so it's like 3 years out to get a spot. That process is both complicated in terms of figuring out who you're going to swim with, and how you're going to swim with, but also you like call someone up and then you wire a deposit. And there's no online entry. And then I'm hoping to swim Yellowstone Lake next August. Yeah.
So, do you think if I should try to swim the lake that we walked next Amsterdam?
Oh yes, yeah, that's a great question. I really want to. So I want to make sure I'm comfortable in cold, a little bit more comfortable in cold water before I plan that one. And so Yellowstone Lake is pretty cold. Not quite as cold as Water House. You notice it different. So I think like this will help get me prepared for that too. I want Brian. Someone other than Brian. The Viking swim is, let's see if I can find it. Just trying to find the map. The Viking swim is like, it's not there's like across the middle is like 13 miles in Lake Tahoe. And then there's one that's like slightly angled, and it's 11 miles. And it's just a swim with. So, and together those are the Tahoe Triple Crown. I was like, that's not bad.
It has to do with some lodge or Viking landmark that
Yeah,
on the shore.
something like that. Yeah. I don't know all of the history, but I'll know by next summer. Yeah. Well, I'll be here for a bit. I want to thank the base camp crew. This Explorer series is amazing. Thank you so much.
Don't worry.
What an awesome idea. I can't wait to come to some talks.
Yeah, we're happy to have you.
Thank you so much for having me. It's okay. It's okay.